How's it going, everybody? Seth here. Andrew's on the other line. And we're going to talk about Oko Chronicles. Not the first Oko. Maybe we'll talk about the first Oko, I don't know. And I'm going to draw a pig wizard. So you're back in it, Andrew.
Give me...
This is based off like an old thing I drew a long time ago, which I think was based off of Tomba, or at least inspired. Did you ever play Tomba? I know we're getting into Oko, and you're not here, and that's why we're not talking about Oko. So I guess I'll...
What is Tomba?
Tomba was a PlayStation game. It was like a side-scrolling platformer action game about like a caveman with pink hair, and he fought pigs. And I think there was like questing and stuff. It was a ton of fun.
Sounds like that was less of a game and more of a fever dream that you had.
No. There's a second one too.
I think the second one was just another night you had chili before bed.
No, we had it on a demo disc, and it was a ton of fun.
Tomba?
Yep. Or if you're in Europe, Tombi.
This looks sort of... The cave guy looks sort of familiar.
That's the titular Tomba.
This. Yeah.
If you were a wizard, would you hold your staff in your dominant hand or your non-dominant?
I feel like that's a very private question.
Hey yo!
I don't know.
Who does?
I'm not a wizard, so I can't say.
You're not a wizard, Andrew.
Yeah, just rub it in. So, Oko.
Oh, go.
So, it seems like it would be more interesting with another
Human.
at least another player to handle the villains. Probably, I would say it's probably best 3 players.
But you would rather it be one versus all, or you think it would be more fun to play one versus all.
With someone handling the villains, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the solo mode adds like a bunch of more decks so that like every individual villain has, or every individual like villain character has their own deck, and then you have tokens for them that you like flip upside down, and then the way it goes is each turn, each round, a hero will take a turn, and their turn is determined by like initiative cards that they put into a deck. So they have to choose amongst themselves who will go in what order, and then they put their cards into a deck and then reveal those cards one by one. So the villain doesn't know who's going when, but also like the heroes can't like change their mind based on actions that the villain takes or different things that come up.
Mm-hmm.
And a hero will take a turn, and then the villain will activate one of their characters, and then the next hero will take their turn, and then the villain will activate another character as long as one's available. And I think most of the time they always have 2 to 3 available. I think there's always 2 minions, and then at some point, usually a demon will appear. But in the solo mode, each villain has their own individual deck, and their activation is random. You just like draw a token, and whatever token that is activates whatever character that is for the villains. And then the card will dictate what they can do or what they do on their turn. Like if they move, or who they focus their attack on, or what have you. And then there's also, in the solo game, there's like an event deck, which I don't really know exactly how that works since I didn't play that way. But based on what I was reading in the rules, it seems like that's kind of like the villain's deck. And that's what they use to activate. They get, unless they have a separate deck. I don't think they do. I think it's the event deck is like basically their hand of cards, and then they'll draw more cards from that deck, and they'll use those to activate their minions, or they can play them for like abilities or something that can fuck over the heroes. And there's also like, so in the solo version, there's like an adventure deck, and each round, it's not very clear. Like I said, there's a lot of English
Translation
as a second
stuff,
language,
yeah.
which isn't honestly terrible. Like there are only a few very, very minor like grammatical errors.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it's just like lack of clarification on stuff, which may not actually be a translation thing.
Yeah.
But some of it feels like it is. And some of it is a formatting thing. There's one thing that I was super confused by for the longest time, because it formats it in such a way that makes it very unclear as to the order that these things happen. And I had to like look online to figure out what it was trying to say. They have like an event deck that each round you'll draw, and it happens, especially in the solo game, there are a lot of things that just need a tiny bit more clarification. Some of it was stuff that was clarified in the main rules, I just didn't see it. But a lot of it was like, so in a normal game, there is a preparation phase where everybody, heroes and villain, will basically prepare their next turn. I don't think the villain has to like choose who they're going to activate when. I think they get to make that decision, but they like choose their cards that they're going to play and stuff. And then there's also like, the villain has like an upgrade track that every turn they get to upgrade an ability for either their mortal thralls, which are like the human characters, or their supernatural entities, which are like the yokai, and then also ninjas are apparently supernatural entities. But they get like upgrades, and they get a new upgrade for one or the other based on whether it's an even or odd turn each turn. They also get the mortal thralls cannot just be activated willy-nilly because they are human. They have to be possessed by certain tiles called corruption tiles that the villain gets a place on the board. And there's 4 of those tiles, and they'll get 1 every even numbered turn to place on the board, and then they can move them around and stuff. And then there's also like a thing where the heroes can't attack the mortal thralls unless they're corrupted. And if they do, then there's like a penalty to them. But then if they do, then they become alerted, and then the villain can activate them anyway. But since those kind of choices can't really be made in a solo game, it has this deck that dictates when
when that choice is made.
Yeah, like it'll tell you like, if this is an even number or if this is odd number turn, remove the tokens from these tile, like the tile with the most heroes or the tile with the most mortal thralls or whatever, and move it to the tile with the fewest, or the tile that was last active or whatever.
Yeah.
And it also gives you like direction as to where to put your next upgrade on the upgrade tree for the villains. And then it also has like an event that'll just happen for that turn. And some of them are just like the heroes can't use their special abilities for a turn. One of them was just like an automatic, like everybody had to roll, and then if they rolled a certain number, they took damage, or they were crippled, which was brutal. But it didn't happen, but it would have been brutal if it did. And just other stuff like that, just like little events. The thing that's weird is in the solo or in the multiplayer game, that phase, the planning phase, happens simultaneously. The villain will plan out their turn, and the heroes will plan out their turns all together at the same time. And then the next phase is the activation phase, where the heroes will reveal one of their activation things. Maybe they reveal all of them at once, but then they'll activate in turn. I didn't bother hiding anything because I was playing solo, so I just laid everything out.
Yeah.
Face up. So I didn't really look into the cadence for that. But in the solo version, you draw those cards and immediately utilize them. And I was confused as to whether, like, I was supposed to plan out my stuff as a hero and then deal with that, or deal with that first and then plan my turn. And the rules didn't state, so I was just like, these things could drastically affect my turn, and I don't want the game to win, so I guess I will plan my turn after I activate these things, and I think that's the correct choice, but the game doesn't say.
Yeah.
And if you're going by the way the game goes before, then I shouldn't be able to choose anything based off of it. And it was just confusing, and I might need to reread the rules and see if it's clear. And there's also just like, according to, like in a solo game, the villains will, or everyone will like reveal their cards all together. And then they'll each activate in sequence. And in a solo game, the villains don't activate or draw any of their cards until it's their turn and you draw a token. but their cards will give them like bonuses, because the cards will be utilized as either like generally your cards will be utilized as either you put it to the left of your character board and it'll give you like bonuses or negatives to your different stats, or you put it to the right of your board and it just gives you like a special ability for that turn.
Yeah.
But the villain deck for solo mode is just like an instructional card, but it still has those stats, so they'll still get the stat bonuses, but it's just an instructional card of like what type of actions they'll take. But they may get like an ability or something that triggers on them. They also the villain in the solo mode doesn't roll dice. Instead, you just take the number of their stats that it tells you, and you treat that as the number of successes they rolled. And then you just have to roll, like, if they are attacking you, you just have to roll your defense based off of that. Which was weird, but fine. But it sucked because it means they're always successfully attacking.
Yeah.
So if I sacrificed defense that turn, in a normal game, I could have potentially squeaked by them flubbing an attack, and me, just rolling an okay defense with one die. Or actually, you don't roll defense. It's just, they could just flub their attack, and the fact that I only had 2 defense doesn't matter, because you need to to succeed in an attack, you either need to match or exceed the defense of the character you're attacking. But in the solo mode, they are always successful. So if a ninja's base attack is 5 and they get a +2, then they are hitting you for 7 every time. And if you are only rolling 1 defense die, there's a potential to succeed, because if you roll a key symbol, it's worth 1 success, and then you get to re-roll it again, so you could potentially just keep re-rolling if you were super lucky.
I do love exploding dice.
You're just taking damage.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't horrible. Like, I still won, and I only had 1 wound happen over the course. Like, you take damage, but once your damage matches or exceeds your health, you'll discard as many damage tokens as they match up to your health, and then you'll draw a wound card, and that wound card will go into your deck as like not a dead card, a negative card in your deck, because you have your entire deck all at once, and you choose 1 to 2 cards. You have to use at least 1 to activate in a turn, and you can use them as either the ability or the bonus. If you use 2, only 1 of them can be used as each. You can't use both of them for bonus or both of them for ability. But you have a weakness card in your deck, which doesn't give you any bonuses. It has to be used for its ability, and its ability is always negative for you. But it will allow you to heal. And the weakness cards, I think, have negative stats on them and an ability. They might only be an ability, I don't remember. But you have your entire deck available to you, but you don't get to any of those cards back until you've played every card in your deck. So at some point, you have to play your negative cards. And if you ever have 3 wounds in your deck, you automatically die. It was weird because, like, the villain decks will sometimes give them a bonus defense, but since as far as I could understand, the way the rules were written, it seems like they don't get that card until their turn activates. So if they get a defense from that card, it won't matter to them unless they are attacked after their turn has already acted. Which just felt weird.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a lot of like little things like that where I was just like, I don't quite. It's not as bad as Lupin, where they're just like full on like, I don't understand how line of sight works when you're on top of a building, because it's all like
It's all
garbled
offset.
nonsense. And every time we played, we had to like house rule it. It's not that bad, but there were just a bunch of little things where I was like, and some of it is playing it solo, like I don't have the full attentiveness that I would have if I was trying to actually play with people.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked it. I played the very first mission. And that mission is there's like 2 or 3 initiation missions, which
Just kind of teach you.
Yeah, they exist to kind of like set up the story, I guess, but they mostly exist to teach you the mechanics. So that one teaches you basically how turns function and how attacking works and how interacting with things work, but there is no investigation, because typically in a game you are trying to discover someone who is posing as like a demon that is posing as a human in this palace. And you do that by like interacting with things, and there's various things you can do to basically, like Clue, draw from, like the villain will draw a card that tells you who they're like what demon they are and who they're posing as. And then the rest of the remainder of the available cards get shuffled into a deck, and then each turn, or each like time you would do an action to look at that, you would take a card from that deck, and you would know, okay, this person is, they're not the courtesan.
Yeah.
Or they're not, Oniwaru or whatever. And when you get those cards, they are available as bonuses to you. Sometimes they might give you like the person that you accused or that you thought was so-and-so, and that you learn that they're not. They might become an ally that then comes out on the board as a follower for you and stuff like that. But you're allowed every round, the heroes are allowed to make one accusation, and they can either accuse. They can make an accusation of who the villain is, like who they're posing as, or their nature, which is the demon that they are. And if you guess who they are, like who they're posing as, you get it basically like kicks off the end game, where there's like the villain will be revealed, and then there'll be a battle against them. And if you guess who they're posing as, or if you guess what demon they are, you'll get a bonus against them. Like you'll get their card, which gives you a bonus ability or stat boost or something against them in the fight.
Okay.
Because you're prepared for them. And if you're wrong, I don't think there's a detriment to guessing like the wrong demon, but if you're wrong and you accuse the wrong person, there's like penalties, and they're also like worth points at the end of the game, where if you guess correctly, I think there's a card for it, like a point card, like a victory point thing at the end of the game for it. But I do know if you guess incorrectly, it's worth like not necessarily negative points, but it's worth points for the villain if you guess incorrectly. And you get 3 chances, and I think it's by like round, maybe it's round 8 one of the rounds, like, you have to make a guess, and you're either right or wrong, and then the villain reveals himself. But I didn't, like, the first one doesn't have a hidden villain. Instead, it just gives you a mission to go make it over to someone, talk to them, like, I don't think you have to do a skill check. I think you just have to check. Like, you just have to use an action to talk to them to get, like, an item, and then you just have to leave. Whoever has the item has to make it back to the starting area.
Oh, okay.
But by the third turn, the demon will be revealed. And the demon's sole goal is to kill the person that you're talking to. If they kill them before you're able to get the token or the card from them, like, you automatically lose. But if they kill them later, it's just, like, worth negative points, I think. But I think the game will immediately end. I forget what exactly all the rules were for it, but like, the skill checks were weird, and it took me, I had to look up how skill checks worked online, because the rules do not make it. In some of it, once I knew it, I was like, okay, I guess it does say that, but it doesn't say that clearly.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, like, specify that you're supposed to use different dice and different stats for different things. Like, it's just kind of word salad. But I did flub the game a bit because I had to do a skill check in order to attack the monster. It had, like, this automatic check where I had to do, like, basically like a horror check in order to be able to attack it. But my strongest guy, who I had spent the whole, like, thing planning on him going to attack her because I knew it was coming, and he was available and strong, and I put all my good cards into him, wasn't able to pass the check just because
of luck.
Mostly because his stats suck.
Oh.
Because you roll these different dice you roll a number of dice based on the challenge of this check. So it was like a check of 5. So I had to roll 5 dice. And then you check it against whatever stat it's for. And so that one was for guile, and he had super low guile. And you check the stat against your own, or you check the check against your own stat. So for a guile check,
you keep saying guile, and I keep thinking Street Fighter.
For a guile check of 5, which this was, you roll 5 dice, and then you check the results of those 5 dice, which are either each side of the die is either a 0, a 1, or a 2. You check the total number of results on that die, of those dice, against your stat. So for Nibiru, the renegade planet. Actually, I think it's Nibiru, but whatever. He has a guile of 1, which means I had to roll 5 dice, and you have to either match or be under that number in order to succeed. So I had to roll 5 dice and get a result of 1 or 0 in order to succeed. And he just could not do it. I ended up just, like, rolling the dice like 3 or 4 times until I finally rolled only 1 success and the rest were nothings. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna fight this thing. And it also, like, it wasn't clear whether I needed to check that stat every single time I wanted to attack her, because I put myself in a position where I was like, I can attack her 3 times. But the rules state that doing a check is an action, and you only get 3 actions in a turn. But the card seems to state that if you want to attack, you just need to do this check. And I don't know if that's just like an automatic, and it's also like a different type of check that is called out in the rule books as being a different type of check. But I couldn't tell if it meant like I needed to use an action to do the check, then an action to attack, and then I have one action left over, which I can't attack because I think I need to do the check again. Or I need to do the action for the check, then I just have succeeded that check for the rest of the turn, and then I can do the action, like I can do 2 attacks. Or I do an action for an attack, and then as a result of that, I just have to do a check for no action, and then I have 2 actions left over, and I couldn't tell. But I kind of struggled with that for a bit, but I don't know, it was neat. There was a lot of like interesting stuff. The choices of your cards and the hand management stuff was kind of interesting. Although to be fair, since I was playing the solo game and managing 2 heroes, I was really only just kind of like looking at my cards in the moment and just being like, I don't know, I'm probably gonna fight someone with Oko, so I'll do this card that gives them +2.
Mm-hmm.
I did do like a couple little decisions towards the end when I had to escape, and I was like trying to get Naburo to the exit, and one of the event cards that I drew was just like, hey, it wasn't clear, and I had to just like make a choice on my own what it meant, and I decided that it meant the thing that was most inconvenient for me.
That's usually fair.
It was like, again, it was like word choice, where it was like reinforced doors, which meant I had to put skill checks of either like 5 strength or 4 guile against all the doors in whatever room has the most tokens, or whatever tile has the most tokens. And the tile thing was a little confusing at first, because there's as far as board is concerned, there are tiles, rooms, and spaces, and they're all different things.
Oh boy.
And it's not as confusing as it sounds, but I kept treating tiles as rooms, but they're not. Tile is literally like the piece of the board. The modular piece that you are setting down. The room is the sectioned off walled area on that board, and the spaces, each like room has little like blue pips on it.
Yeah.
And those dictate like where you can stand and stuff in the room. But I was trying to figure out like what tokens meant, because I was like, I don't know, there's only one token on the board, and it's the courtesan, and she's in the room in the back of the thing, and there's only one door for that room, and she's all the way in the back where I don't even care if she gets locked in there anymore. But then I was like, maybe they mean door tokens, because you do, to connect tiles, you do put down like door tokens. And I was like, maybe they meant door tokens by tokens. And I was like, if that's the case, then it's the room that I'm currently in that I need to get out of, that I'm just going to basically lock myself into and lock Naburo out of. So I had to like, I could have like ended it on the next turn, and it took me like 2 or 3 more turns because I had to like stop at every door and do a check to open it. And then when the villains activated, they just like flooded the room with ninjas.
As they do.
But I don't know, it was fun. It'd definitely be more fun with more people.
Yeah.
And especially with someone handling the villains. But it had a lot of interesting things going on for it, and I'm hoping to get it painted today. I don't know. I gotta keep editing, but
Editing
it
sucks.
took so long yesterday, and I just was like, fuck this. I gotta draw for the thing too.
I'm still waiting on like bated breath for that to hear back from the.
Yeah, when are we supposed to know about that?
He wanted to get through things by the 20th, but he expected like 20 to 30 pitches, and he got like 200.
Like,
Just being like, yeah, 30 people will want to do this.
well, it's the thing where it's like, it's always the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Where like
You planned for 400 things and like 2 people.
If you've got the ego where ego sounds negative, but if you got the confidence where you're just like everyone's gonna care, I'm gonna have 1 million people watch my Twitch channel, and no one shows up, and then you're like, no one gives a shit, so I'm just gonna sit here in my underwear and belch into a microphone, and then suddenly like everybody comes to watch the belching naked idiot.
And they're like, this sucks. So, Kirsten played Paperback Adventures yesterday.
How'd she like it?
And got through a third. And we're both kind of in the same spot where...
A third of like a full adventure, or just like a third of a game and then she quit?
Third of a full adventure. So like 1 boss. The full adventure is 3 bosses. 3 books. So she did 1 book. Same with me. And we're both kind of on the same spot where if it was an app, it would be no question. Mainly because it would assumingly be cheaper because you don't have to make product, you don't have to store product, you don't have to produce product. But it would just be like so easy to sit around and just have the game deal with everything. Not that there's a ton to deal with. But she liked the word stuff more than I did, which is she likes word games more than I do. And it was something that I mentioned that some of my worries were quelled because it wasn't as much of a word game as Paperback is.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of it is, you have 4 cards. I mean, you can get more, but you have 4 cards, and that's kind of it.
I forgot. Did you ever play hardback or only paperback?
I played hardback as well, and I believe I liked hardback better.
Hardback is much like Burgle Brothers 2.
It's just like hardback is like we learned about Burgle or we learned about paperback and what's good.
Yeah, it's just an improved version of paperback, just like Burgle Brothers 2 is just like it. We took what you liked about a Burgle Brothers and we made it all better.
But oops, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Actually, hold that thought. I'm gonna run and get a glass of water. I got a bottle of water. What's up? Okay.
So, I mentioned a little about how it's not hard to make words.
Yeah.
And so I'm an idiot, and I didn't care for... I thought paperback and hardback were fine and fun games. I just don't tend to care for word games. Because I kind of get frustrated with them, and I just kind of go for what's easy. And... with
this
this,
one called
that's
you on your bluff and said it's nothing but easy. And you said, but it's boring now.
Yeah. No, but, and like, Kirsten had a problem with where she felt like she wasn't being rewarded for making a great word. Or for, like, making a word with a bunch of letters or things like that. And I think that's fair. And I think that's because of what kind of helps it for me is that the best word is not the word that uses the most letters. The best word is the word that gets you the symbols you need.
That optimizes the cards. Which I think is also true. I think that's something that hardback improves over paperback. Hardback is still definitely a word where it's like, it's better to use as many letters as you possibly can. But there are times where it is wiser to use fewer letters to just like trigger specific abilities, or to like be like, I could make a word that uses every card in my hand, but in order to trigger this one ability that I kind of need to happen, I have to put this letter in the middle of my word, and in order to do that, that like drops my options to like a couple 4-letter words.
Yeah. And so I think some of it is like getting out of that mindset of I want to make like, oh, this is a great word, but this doesn't do what I want to do, so I guess I'll just use pan. You know what I mean? And some of it I think is I think it's just kind of getting into the right mindset and away from that like Scrabble paperback sort of approach. But it's less of a word game than kind of a, I don't want to say resource management, but you know, you're making words, but they're not, I don't think they're hard to make, and it's built around, you're making them to suffice another mechanic. Mm-hmm. Which I think the mechanic's fine. I like the idea of, you know, you get one ability each turn based on the card that's either based on either the first or last letter of your word. And so it can be interesting to sit there and just be like, I really want to use this, like, I want it to start with a B. Like, I need to make a word that starts or ends with a B. And I think there's some interesting decision space there.
How big's the deck?
10 cards. And you get 4 card hands. I mean, I have no idea what I'm trying to do here.
That's okay. I haven't even started drawing. I don't know.
And you can get more. You get more cards after each boss. And I think it's interesting to have, like, when you do upgrade your deck, I think it's interesting to have, like, the choices of, okay, like, this Y is really good, but do I have the cards that, you know, can I make good Y words? You know, can I utilize it?
Widelize it.
What?
No.
I just didn't understand you. It was hysterical, but I just didn't understand what you said.
It was a very good joke that I didn't get. Probably wasn't.
But, she felt the same, that first book, and again, it's probably prototype stuff, I don't know how much it's going to change, is very, very easy. She beat the boss in, like, the second turn. Maybe the first. I don't remember. And the boss was already blocking for 4, but she did, like, 20 damage. And the boss only had, like, 18. And that wasn't even including her actual word. And so she just kind of beat the first 3 enemies in nothing. You know, she didn't really take any damage again. And it wasn't hard to deal with the enemies. And I'm still interested to see, I know it gets harder, I'm still interested to see what it does there. But I think for a third of the game, and it probably does slow down, so it's probably less than a third of a game, I just don't think that first third is that interesting. And it's maybe a little bit going through the motions. And when you beat an enemy, you get rewards, and some of them are cards, and some of them are items, and some of them are MacGuffins. And I just don't feel like I've been playing a ton of Slay the Spire recently. And I think the early game is very easy in Slay the Spire as well. But I think there's a lot going on. Excuse me. I think there's a lot going on in how you interact with the game state, because you're beating more enemies, so you're getting more cards. You're trying to figure out how you want to build your deck and things like that. And so by the time you kind of get halfway through that first floor in Slay the Spire, and it starts to build up a little bit more and whatnot, and you're fighting elites and things like that, I think while the first half of that first floor is easy, you're doing more with... It's less about fighting the enemies and more about building your deck. Whereas in Paperback Adventures, since you only fight 2 enemies before you fight the first boss, that means maybe you'll get 4 cards, which replace. So you still have a deck of 10 cards, which is probably, good. It doesn't matter. You only add cards for bosses. You replace cards for regular enemies. But you're only getting so many cards. And, there's not like potions or anything like that. Maybe you're upgrading 1. Maybe you're upgrading 2. But I just didn't feel like I was interacting enough with the game. And again, it felt super easy. It gives you a ton of stuff. All the items kind of felt... The damsel starts with like a buckler, which gives you 3 defense, which I don't think I ever used. I don't think Kirsten ever used. But that's every turn. That's not even once an enemy. That's every turn. Same thing with all of your items. And so Kirsten just had items, and she got lucky with getting ones that comboed really well, and it's cool to get combos like that. But she just every turn could add... There's like hexes, which you can do, which I assume are different for each character. With the damsel, you do damage equal to the amount of hexes on the enemy. And you have to spend mana for it. So, if you put a ton of hexes on it and you don't have the mana, you can't really do it. But all you need is like 5 mana to do the most. And maybe that's 2 turns. Less if you're not, 1 turn if you're not using the wild card. But Kirsten was just adding like 8 mana or 8 hexes every turn. Not even part of her cards. Maybe her cards even added more. And so by her second turn, she could probably do 16 damage without even getting to her cards.
Unrelated, I'm drawing the art for Doctor Strange. And how about how boring his cloak is? I never really thought too much about it because the whole costume's just kind of muted, and I was mostly just like, why doesn't he have his fun, stupid Rubbermaid gloves? But the cloak is like so bland.
Isn't it just...
I didn't look at it
his
until
normal
I was
regular
about to
cloak?
draw it, and then I was just like, what?
Isn't it just like his normal regular red cloak?
Nope. Real quick, don't look it up.
I'm not.
Open up a blank.
Draw Doctor Strange?
Draw his cloak. Draw Doctor. But like, what do you think his cloak looks like?
He's at a rock concert.
I know you're the real artist and I'm not, but the way our brains work, when I'm just like, real quick, draw Doctor Strange, and I would have drawn like a stupid little goofy thing doing the T-pose, and you're like, no, I'm gonna draw Doctor Strange.
You gave me an out of trying to figure out this pig background. I don't think he goes around like this with them in the front. Like in the front, they're more to the side. Hysterical.
I just find it funny because I would have been done by now.
You would have done this.
Yep. He would have had his stupid little. Yep. Exactly. And then I would have drawn his dumb cloak. He would have his stupid little. See, it's not fun when I know you have the capability
to do it. This was your thing.
That was my thing, and you took it. Now I'm nothing. The next time you tell me I draw good stuff, I know it's bullshit.
You draw well stuff. Superman draws good stuff. To be fair, you were just asking me a question about his cloak, and I was like, if I just keep drawing and messing up, I don't have to answer it. This healed. What was I doing there?
What?
I like drew his hand, but it was all fucked up. Like he had
Mad
a mad cow disease. Alright, how'd I do? Do you need more?
I guess you would be in agreement with... Yours is better, but you would be in agreement with the designers for the movie. Because when I think of Doctor Strange, I think he has that crazy collar with like the stupid like spikes that stick up at the front, and it's like nonsense. It's awesome. And in the movie, it's just like a big dumb folded. It's not even up like yours is. It's just folded over. It's real like.
No, he pops his collar later on.
Okay. But still, even
and it's popped
up,
in the stuff.
Even popped up though, it's not as big. Like the comic book one is like crazy.
Yeah, he has the comic book one. Ooh, how nice.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is I guess maybe you're drawing the what you thought the movie one looked like, but I was thinking like it's not the comic book one. The comic one, yeah, it has like the crazy, like Batman ears sticking up from it.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Plus, it's got more gold accents. Like his in the movie is just red with like a little like gold wing things at the very front.
Yeah.
Whereas the comic one has like gold all over it. And that's another thing with these movies is they're too busy with like a whole. He's got like this checkerboard pattern on the inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're too busy with everything else, just like piping and like extra details. But they take out a lot of like the colors and
that gold tinge would have been really nice.
That make things really nice, especially if you just Google Doctor Strange cloak. One of these pictures, let me send it to you. Is like an unused concept, and it's not red, but it looks so good. It actually looks like the idea that how I picture the Cowboy Mummy one. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, the gold fringe is so nice. I guess it's not fringe, but is so nice, and I think the movie costume lacks that.
There, I just sent you.
Looks like Loki.
Everything looks like Loki. Because Loki can look like everything.
Oh.
The Zooper. Anyway.
But yeah, I did forget about his like framing cloak in the comics. You know what I hate about the movies? I hate
Everything.
now when you're like, oh, Doctor Strange. Nope, Doctor Strange comic, not movie. Like everything is. It's so hard to look up comic reference anymore.
Like you said when I asked you about the Infinity Stones and if you remembered which ones were what, you had mentioned like it's so hard to just like look up that like what is it in the comics because it all bleeds together now. Even what may have been true in the comics may not be true now.
But yeah, I was gonna still try some paperback adventures. I don't believe we're sold on it, and I can't imagine we will be. I wish Fowers did more stuff with apps because, or any stuff with apps because I think that's an easy purchase.
He does.
Does he? I was trying to think of what he had app-wise.
He made a couple games that are only apps. I don't remember what they are. And then he has Burgle Brothers as an app. I think Paperback has an app.
Okay, well, good. Hopefully.
The airplane game, Now
Oh,
Boarding, has an app.
Then yeah, hopefully.
I have the app for Burgle Brothers, and it's completely serviceable. But like, and I guess that's the thing is like, that's also I don't know how old that app is, but it's like a flash game app thing. Like it's real simple. Some of the text isn't great. It's completely serviceable. Like it does exactly what you need it to do, which is fine. But it's not like impressive. And when you were like, oh, I wish this was an app, and I thought, like it'd be neat to have it as an app or something, but I wouldn't care. Like I don't think I would care. I think as a physical game, it interests me more.
And I think it, like I've been saying,
But having played the Burgle Brothers app, I'm just like, I don't know if like,
that's gonna solve the issue.
Yeah, the app is fine.
Well, and I don't know, like, I mentioned before that with roguelikes, I really like how easy they are to play. And with paperback adventures, I think a lot of that would hold still in an app where it's just like, there's not a ton, but when you lose or whatever, you just, you don't have to shuffle your card. It automatically does that. You don't have to keep track of all the stuff, and there's not a ton of stuff to keep track of. It's just like, especially with, I don't find that first third to be all that exciting at the moment. And so, if that wasn't as long, because the app just kind of was like, yep, here's all the crap, then...
I find it kind of funny that we're on, not really opposite sides here. It's mostly just I don't care about an app. But like,
it's how we've always said, like, you're always interested in like setting up board games solo, and I just cannot be bothered. But I have backed a couple solo board games, and I've liked a couple that I've played, but most of the time I do it and I'm like, that's neat to like get it out of my systems until I can finally like play with someone.
Yeah.
But I don't actually like care. Like it's, and we've talked before about like, and Colin does this too, because I know Colin has backed a couple games where he's like, oh, like the solo stuff looks cool, like I could play it solo, and I'm just like, I don't know.
But why would you want to?
If I could play a solo game, like 90% of the time, I'd rather just boot up my PlayStation than be miserable that that's all I did that day.
And like I said, I think it has all the game trays, but I still think it's a little expensive for me at the moment. But
And I don't disagree. When you had pointed out the price, I was like, yeah, like it is, but that's fine. And then the more you kind of talk about it, I was like, I mean, you're not wrong. It is a big price point for.
just like a card game.
Same thing with like I back.
Especially for me, I feel like a lot of the interesting things are the different characters. Like, you know,
When I backed that. Oh, what the fuck?
Sabotage.
And that was like a pretty hefty price point. It was mostly because it came with all those miniatures, and I was like, I don't really care about miniatures, but like that's the way I gotta go to play it. Then so be it. And it was like a big hefty price point. And then when we played it, I was like, that's one of the other like Fowers games that I think it's really interesting, but in the 2 games that we played, it just did not feel like it came together.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I thought about it. I think I thought it was a little, like, it was more interesting as an idea than I think. We also had, like, really one-sided.
That's the thing, is it felt incredibly one-sided, and I think
I remember reading a lot of people felt similarly. But I think a lot of people felt similarly on the opposite side of us.
Yeah. I remember looking it up and people were saying that, but they were saying it because I think we were saying
The villains were like...
I think the villains were overpowered and the spies just like struggled to survive.
Yeah. But everybody else was like, how do you win as the villains?
And it sucks because it's an interesting idea. I'd like to play it again.
Yeah, it's
but
a great
also,
production.
It needs 4 players.
I think that would be a fun game to paint and like make it. I guess you wouldn't make it super bright, but you'd use all those like, you know, use like oranges and greens and purples and secondary colors for the villains. And
I mean, I guess I don't know. For whatever reason, that's one of the games that I just don't even. It doesn't even fall on my list of things to paint. I'm just
probably because it was kind of a lacking experience. Like you paint the games you're excited for.
When I backed it, I was like, I don't think I really care to paint this. It doesn't need the painting. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Power Rangers, if it wasn't for the property, wouldn't need the painting because it's not a game that really needs miniatures, so they don't really do it. It doesn't really add anything to color them. For Power Rangers, it's just like it's fun to paint Power Rangers and they look cool.
Yeah.
But the game doesn't service them. And I think that's kind of where Sabotage is. It's not the lacklusterness of the game. It's just like the game isn't a miniatures game. It could be the same as like moving a token around.
Yeah.
And nothing really changes. In fact, it's a lower price point.
Yeah, but you can put those
like
little...
when I got Vast, the mansion one, it comes with all the miniatures, and those miniatures are nice. But I have no interest in painting them because Vast works with everybody being their own color. And when I backed it, I also paid extra to get the wooden meeples. But then once it got here, I was like, it's too much of a hassle. Like, the wooden meeples don't even fit in the box unless I take the miniatures out. The miniatures are nice. And then in the end, I shouldn't have bought the wooden meeples because they're just
stuff now.
The only way I would use them is if I decided to play combining the 2 games, and the other game is where I have the wooden meeples.
Or if you decided to paint and you wanted to play, but they were in like weird.
But like I said, that's not a game I have any interest in painting because it just I think the solitary colors work really well for that game. this not working?
But yeah, I think Josh said he's busy this week, so we're not doing game night Wednesday. And so I was thinking, well, if I don't, I want to get back into Monster Hunter, but if we don't do that, then maybe I'll try and do Paperback Adventures on Wednesday and try and get through the whole.
I need to get back into Monster Hunter, but I haven't really cared much. I've been playing Resident Evil 7 with Pete, and it's been nice to just kind of like jump into that for a little bit and then jump out.
Yeah.
I don't know how fun it is for Pete. He's too nice to tell me if it's not that interesting, but
I don't know. I remember when my buddy picked up 7 and he had people over to watch or to like just kind of hang out and play, and we would just pass the controller, which you guys aren't doing, but it was fun to watch.
I think it would be more fun to do that.
Like a pass and play thing. Just like when people
Yeah, because I think it's a game that kind of like, I don't think I could play it solo just because I don't think it's that interesting. Like it is, but it's not, the game isn't interesting really for the story, or it's mostly interesting. It's just like kind of how weird and stupid it is. And then like occasionally a monster will pop out and I'll yell.
Yeah.
And like the fact that I'm yelling is only fun when
somebody is like, ha 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 ha, you got scared.
Because I was also getting frustrated. We had a point where like there was a boss where I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to. All the bosses, I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do for them. Mostly because I think the game does a poor job of like really explaining what you need to do. And like there's a lot of like contextual stuff that I think it doesn't explain well. And like I fell into an area where there was a boss fight and I didn't know, I couldn't remember how I got there. And I found, especially being a first person game, it's very easy to get disoriented.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't tell if I was running in circles, and I was like, am I running in circles because there's nowhere to go? Or am I running in circles and I just like can't seem to find the exit? And I would like find like something new, and I was like, okay, this has got to go somewhere. And then it didn't go anywhere. And I was like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. And the boss popped out at one point and like startled me. And then I was like, okay, I think she just was there to spook me. But then she was like wandering around in the hallways of the thing. And earlier on, the other boss that you fight earlier in the game, before he is like the boss that you kill, he's like kind of pacing around an area following. And he just like might be in the hallway sometime. And then you could shoot him and he'd pass out and then he'd leave. And she kind of does that earlier, and then you have like something that seems like a boss fight where she maybe dies and then she doesn't. And I was like, okay, I think she's still around, but I'm done with this area, so I think I leave. And that's when I got into this other area, and she was like stalking me and wandering around, and I would shoot her, and then she would like fall down, and then she would scurry away, and then like scurry up a wall, and then jump at me.
Oh, I remember that.
I was like, I can't tell if I'm killing her or if I am just supposed to be keeping her at bay while I figure out how the hell to get out of here. And I was like, I'm running out of ammo, and it doesn't seem like I'm doing anything to her. It seems like all I'm doing is distracting her for a minute, and then she screws. And I was like, I can't waste all this ammo trying to fight a boss enemy that's never going to die.
Yeah.
So then Pete ended up looking it up, and he's like, no, she's just a bullet sponge. Like, you just have to unload on her. And I was like, okay, but like,
how do I know?
I was not clear, and it might have been me, but I was like, I was not clear whether I was in a boss fight or not.
Mm-hmm.
And in a game where resources are limited, it's like I can't be wasting
ammo shooting at her
Yeah.
if it's not going to do anything? And I was having so much trouble trying to figure out where I was and where to go, and I was like, I can't waste ammo just like running around in circles.
I like
if I
how when
could
you
just
play with
find exit.
I like how when you play with Pete, he's just like the designated like look this up.
Yeah, he's pretty good with that.
Because he did that with Star Wars.
Wars?
Did it?
Okay. Ooh, this thing is so warm. Did you give up on a background? Or you're waiting until you figure that out?
Wait until I figure it out. I think I got it close to what might work, but for the moment it wasn't. Yeah, because I just kind of threw in some. What was it? This one? That one was the best so far.
Excuse me.
My Surface Pro is like overheating.
Sounds like a Surface amateur.
Heyo, Bazooper, Bazinga, Bazorpal, Badingle. I'm only gonna draw one more, and I'm gonna turn this thing off and hope that
It works the next time you pick it up.
it rests. Alright. What was after Doctor Strange? Is that Guardians 2?
I think so. I wonder if those,
Actually, I
if
think
people
it was
appreciate those as much as I do.
Huh?
I think your little doodles are always fun.
Thank you.
I wonder if people appreciate those.
I didn't know if they did anything for you.
Yeah. I'm always excited to when I'm putting them together. I'm always excited to see what they are.
I know, much like with Power Rangers, and they haven't been as fun as the Power Rangers ones, but I always like my stupid summary.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my favorite things in the Power Rangers ones, and
Well, and I told
been
him
hit or miss in this, but I really like I think my Hulk one is funny. That one always makes me chuckle.
I told him, I don't know if you noticed them, but that Man Bowl Games guy usually retweets with a little thing of his own, and I always like those.
See, I always forget. I never look at our Twitter, so if it's not directed at me, I don't see anything. And since like if you look at something, it no longer shows as new,
Yeah.
then I don't.
Yeah, you should go through and look at, I don't know how you'd find them, I guess. But I always enjoy, he always has some goofy thing. I don't think this is working for me.
How about in Spider-Man and Iron Man 3 when Tony Stark calls a child a pussy?
That's the only thing I'm gonna take from these Marvel movies. After enough time has passed, I'm gonna be like, God, do you remember that? What color should I make these clothes? Because this isn't working for me.
What about a lighter green? Like a lime green.
Too lime? Not enough green?
That might be too neon. I'm just thinking, I've been watching X8 and he's pink and like lime green, but he's also like a brighter, he's like a neon pink and
Yeah.
like a fuchsia.
How about that?
That works.
Get that Doctor Doom.
Okay, so what's next? Guardians 2. The hell do I? Oh, I don't know.
How about just searching anything and all you get is the movie stuff, even like obscure.
Yeah. It's annoying.
Especially because I never want to draw the movie stuff.
Yeah.
Joke. I'd have to do more drawing than I want to deal with.
How many jokes get tossed because of that?
90% of them. I was gonna do like a my two dads thing, but then I was like, in order to make this work, I really have to like draw, or else it's just gonna look like it's just not gonna make sense. So, oh, I don't know what to do. It is so freaking hot here.
Yeah, we turned on the air yesterday.
I always turn on the air and then I end up turning it off, and then I'm just like, why would I do that? Turn it back on. I'm looking at all the other submissions to the Shoe Watch thing, and there's
You're the different one.
yeah, they're all like there's some really good ones in here, but for the most part, not even for the most part, of all the ones I've seen, mine is the most like different. But
That's
there
good.
are some different and more stylized ones. Just, like mine is the most like
Cartoony.
I don't know if cartoony is. I don't know what the word is. It's just like some of them are more stylized. There are some cartoony ones. All right, what the fuck?
That was me filling some air.
What?
That was me filling some dead air.
What'd you do?
It went. You didn't hear it?
I didn't even hear anything this time.
Oh, maybe my thing cuts it because it's just nonsense noise.
All right. What else you got going on today?
I don't know. Kirsten's doing grad school stuff, so I brought up Marvel Champions from the basement. I'll probably just keep playing Slay the Spire though. That's been really hitting me.
The nice thing about you and Pete now owning Marvel Champions is I won't have to lug that anywhere anymore.
Nope. We went to the game store yesterday. I was looking for
GameStop, where the gamers go.
power to the players.
That's
What?
I said, oh, that's what it is.
And for something different, but I did see Star-Lord and Gamora there. I didn't pick them up just because, meh.
I thought you already ordered them or something.
I did order them, but they don't ship until Venom comes out.
So you're gonna just pick them up anyway?
No, I didn't.
Well, you didn't put it as like, well, I already ordered them, so I couldn't. You were just like, like you were like you were gonna do it, and you changed your mind.
I thought about it, but I was just like, I don't need to.
Fucking shit! I did all of this on the wrong layer.
That's how you roll.
God damn it! Thought I. Yeah, my stuff. I have to tell them when to ship it, but. Wondering why everything looks so. Batteries in PC saver mode. When maybe that's why the whole thing felt like it was over fucking heating.
Maybe?
So have you played more Champions?
Probably. I've been playing it a ton.
Now I'm always, speaking of Slay the Spire,
I'm always fascinated by your ability to just like,
I don't know, just like play, like get into a game. Like I feel such guilt.
I think Hawkeye's the only hero I haven't played yet. I mean, I've played it, let's see, I think I've played it 30 times.
Wow.
In May? Yeah, I don't do that. But then again, I did want to play through all the heroes and stuff, and so there was some sort of, I wasn't just playing the same thing. What am I at? Yep, 29. 19 of them were in May when I picked it up. No, that's not true. I picked it up in April because 8 are in there.
I'm just saying, like with Slay the Spire and everything, like you always.
I just play a game for a while.
I just like can't focus on a game like that. Like a story-based game, I can like get into it where I'm like I gotta finish it, but like those games where it's nothing but just doing that, like I can do it for like a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But you always just like dig into it, and you're like, yeah. When I ask you like, what are you gonna do today? You're like, I don't know. I might play Slay the Spire, and I'm like, that's like a thing you do while you're figuring out what to do. That's not like your plan for the day. My plan for the day is to paint miniatures. Whether I actually do it or not, we'll find out. I like took off that like felt thing that you gave me and folded it up and put everything away so that I can like sit down and paint, but we'll see if I actually feel like doing it. Like I want to, but it's always hard to start.
Yeah.
I always feel like starting it like could end with me like horribly ruining whatever I'm working on.
That's why I try and make it so that I can just like so that I can just, I don't know what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to figure something out. I try to just like, I'm just going to do this little bit right here. Like if I just prime it, then it's at least ready.
See, I'll do that, and it's usually once I start, I'm fine. But as soon as like I step away from it, then it becomes incredibly hard to go back to it. Because I usually do an entire entire mini in like a sitting or two.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's always hard to just like start. Once I like, if I can convince myself to just like sit down and be like, I'll just slap on colors. Eventually I'll slap on enough colors where I'm just like, okay, I'll just touch this up, and then suddenly I'm done. But it's always so intimidating until that point.
Yeah, because I remember when I was doing Godzilla, I was like, if I can just do Ghidorah, then it's I was like, if I can just do Ghidorah, and that's just slathering it with gold paint and doing like a little bit of detail work, then maybe I'll do the rest. And it was one of those things where I was like, I started. Let's just do it.
See, I guess for me, I never realized like, I started, let's just do it. I just realized like 1 second I look up and I'm like, oh, I'm done. When did that happen?
I hate coloring.
Me too. I'm really bad at it.
I have like one spot where I'm using like a soft brush and it looks like it, and I'm just like, well, why am I so adverse to this just like sharp highlight? Okay, let's do this. Let's just commit here.
Surface Pro. You just got to make it to the end of this drawing. It's like starting to struggle. I think it's because I plugged it in, but I think it just needs to like shut down and.
Take some time off.
Yeah.
Speaking of Godzilla, a couple minutes ago, I did. I played at 4, and I think I told you I played at 3.
I don't know. I don't really follow your schedule.
But it's fine. It's in a weird spot where it's like it's not bad, but nothing is like making me want to keep coming back. But if like people want to play Godzilla, I'd be like, yeah, let's do that.
I'm interested to try it out whenever I'm out there again. Is it one of those things that it wouldn't survive without the property, or is it also overall?
It would not survive. It would not survive without the property. The graphic design and the property is fantastic. And I don't think there's enough there for me to be like, oh yeah, like look at this cool, like these neat mechanics.
Yeah, I was at Target the other day and I saw the Fast and Furious game, and I like thought about it for a second, and I was just like, it's also a Target game, so there's a high chance it'll be on sale at some point for super cheap.
Or one of those like 2 for 1s or something.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm interested in it, but I'm not like so interested in it that it doesn't look all that interesting. It just like looks like it could be fun, and I saw reviews
I think I heard it was decent. Yeah.
that were like positive. know they're making another Marvel Villainous. I just don't know when it's coming. I remember seeing something for it that I believe announced, like, who was in it.
Yeah.
Why is this not working? Oh, 'cause I'm not using one. Oh, I'm using some other tool that I don't know what it does.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just overworking it because I don't know what I'm doing. Because I don't color.
Yeah. I'm actually happy with this Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm still drawing this pig.
But I gotta shut this computer off before it like erupts into flames apparently. I got 2 done. It is so hard to think of these things sometimes. Like when I did the first one and I was like, I don't know what to do, and you're like, I don't know, just draw Iron Man.
You're like, okay.
What's the point? I had to come up with a joke or some stupid thing, or else what am I
What's this
even
all
doing with my
for?
life?
What's this all been for?
Exactly. I wish I could have that laissez-faire attitude. Try and email these to you before my computer explodes.
No thanks.
I gotta turn this fan off. I thought I had the arrow. Oh, I must have turned it off last night like I always do. Oh. When I turn the air on, it does, and I leave my door open, it does cool down this bedroom. But every time I go back out to the main room, it's like freezing because that room actually gets like decent like airflow. Now, is that a real apple on a stick or is it a sculpted apple on?
It is a real apple.
Does he have to put a new apple on every time?
It depends on how much he eats.
Does he eat the apple to gain its power, or does he eat the apple because he's hungry?
He's
Does the apple deteriorate every time he uses a spell? Is that how he like reloads?
That would be cool if, like, when he uses a spell, like, just bite marks show up in the apple.
How about asking you all these stupid questions I know you don't have answers to?
I do. I just make them up. I have answers. Not at the exact moment,
Well,
but
I was gonna say you don't have answer. You don't. It's not that you do. It's that you will.
yeah. What are you doing today?
What?
What are you doing today? Dealing with a migraine and then getting anxiety
Well, my
for work tomorrow?
migraines kind of died down.
That's good.
I don't know. I was thinking, I want to paint, whether I will or not, we'll see. Because I don't think as soon as I get off of this, I don't think I'm going to just yet. I'm probably gonna cool down for a little bit. I've been wanting to watch The Rocketeer for a while, but I never feel like just sitting down and watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I might try and knock out an episode or two of X-Aid behind an episode of Zenkaiser.
There was something I've been thinking of rewatching lately. I don't remember what it was. I wish I did.
I have a bunch of stuff that are on a list of I'd like to watch these, but it's never convenient enough to bother with it.
Mm-hmm.
Update and shut. And so they just sit in this eternal list. And
Yep.
like I said, now I gotta go back to the office and trying to get through podcasts and hopefully the audiobooks that I have on my Audible account. I was talking to a coworker and he's like, "Yeah, I have an Audible account." He's like, "I have I probably have 6 or 7 unused credits." And I was like, that's why I cancel it. Is I never when I get into it and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna listen."
I
to
wish
this
Audible was more library-esque instead of buying books.
Yeah, there are more. I will say Audible does have more stuff that's available for free if you have a subscription.
Oh, okay.
And it's just not worth. It's a high price, and it's just not worth it. And there are every time I cancel, it's here's an option where you only pay every other month or something. It's just I need to get through the stuff that I have before I keep buying more. And every time I've ever renewed it, it's always been because there was another deal that I was able to redeem a code for or something. Which now a lot of them don't work if you have an active account, but every once in a while there's one that will. But I just need to get through this stuff. And when I lived in Akron, I listened to a lot of audiobooks, but that's because I had a 40-minute drive to work. Now that I have a 15-minute drive to work on a bad day, I could listen to stuff while I'm sitting at work, but I don't know, it just becomes kind of hard to focus on. And I always tell myself I'm going to listen to audiobooks whenever I like drive out to Columbus or drive out to Virginia to see you or whatever, but I always reach a point where I'm just like, I kind of want to like completely turn my brain off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just like listen to music, or I have a habit of, especially when I go to visit you, I just like start listening to old episodes of 20 somethings where I'm just
And
like,
reminisce.
friends, yeah.
We used to be somebody.
But they're like good enough where they're entertaining to listen to, but I've listened to them so many times that I don't really, it's like turning on red letter media videos where it's like there's entertaining stuff to pay attention to, but I also don't need to pay attention to because I've watched it 10,000
Because you know it's Kirsten's approach to Harry Potter. That's why she shuffles the.
I still find that insane, but
I told her.
I've said, like, I've talked to Kyle, and I don't really rewatch stuff. It's just YouTube videos, and it's because it's easy to just like pop one on and be like, I'll probably quit it at a point, and then I just
Hit
like,
it and
end
quit
up
it.
watching
That's
6
the
of
Andrew
them.
way.
Oh, I gotta read all this sort of jump.
Yeah, I read Dragon Ball before we hopped on, and then I go to like the Dragon Ball subreddit just to be like, what do people think about this thing I interacted with? And everyone's like, this is like the greatest thing ever. And I was like, this is like standard Dragon Ball trope. Everyone's like, man, this is finally doing new stuff. Is it?
I'm not surprised, but I am a little disappointed with where Dr. Stone went.
Just for the fact that it didn't.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna like sit and wait on it.
I could have done a few more. I could have done actual chapters.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's fine, but it just.
I knew it wasn't like the new status quo. It was just something that like, I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity.
I thought it was gonna be a status quo for a while, and it was a status quo for like what, a chapter, 2 chapters,
A chapter and a half?
and then it immediately jumps. And like I think I told you last week, it doesn't feel like a choice, like a narrative choice. It felt like I'm tired of drawing a female character that isn't sexy.
That I can't sexualize because she's too young.
Yeah.
Was there anything new this week? I don't think so.
What do you mean?
Any jump starts or anything?
No.
I didn't think so.
There's that Candy one that I haven't read since the 2nd chapter.
Yeah.
And that Icy...
I tell C.
Yeah, I don't get it. It did that thing where it hit like 7 or 12 chapters, whatever, where it's like, and now the series is what it really is. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't get it. It's not... When I say it's not bad, it's like, it's fine. It's just like, it's another, like, it's just as not bad as most jump starts, where it's just like, it's a thing. Like, it is what it is. It's an interesting concept that isn't interesting in the direction, or it's not going in the interesting direction that I want it to go in. So it's like, it's interesting in theory, but not interesting in its execution. But like, I'm still at the point where like, if I can keep up with it, like, I'm fine with still reading it, I guess. But like, that Candy Flurry one is just
boring.
I do like the first chapter. I was like, I don't care, and then the 2nd chapter, I was like, I really don't care.
Yeah, I think I tell C, Nine Dragons Ball Parade, and Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin are gonna be ending soon. That's what I keep kind of reading. One Piece isn't out this week, is it? I don't think so.
I didn't see it in the updates, but I also don't pay attention, so
I don't think it is.
I'm going through Dr. Stone right now. It's like a stupid visual gag that hit me right.
I thought you opened up a can of whoop ass. At least I'm like inking and coloring sketches now. I used to not do that.
Yeah, you got a whole big thing going.
We were talking before about like, I mean, a long time ago, about when you were like, I don't like streaming. And I was like, wait, I don't like streaming. What are we doing? And, but the big takeaway is, like I said, I mean, I've been drawing.
I've been thinking about like.
It was a
trying
good
to find-
decision. Like,
Well, I've been thinking about trying to find a way in time to go back to.
the past, high school, when we were young and the world was.
No,
ahead of
to
our-
go back to when we were streaming, like together,
Mhm.
and like finding another. I have like some games that we could do that with. I was kind of thinking like stuff like that, but recording on Fridays means we can't do it Friday nights anymore. And
Mhm.
the big
Yeah, I mean,
thing
the
with-
week kind of fills up fast.
Yeah, the big thing with streaming was just like how much of my time it took up.
Mm-hmm.
Since I have to devote time to watching a movie, recording, and then editing. And I want to, like I was saying before, I want to get to a point where I'm up to date, but I fell behind because last week I was just like, I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it. But now you have next week's episode and the week after, and then I just finished the week after that. So
I had like a panic attack earlier this week because I didn't realize like I didn't have any in the can. Like, I didn't have any set to go up. And I looked on Buzzsprout, and it was like all of the we've used all our time. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Things have to go up, but the next episode won't go up until after the month is done anyways.
the whole reason I took like that, well, I allowed myself to take that break was partly I was constantly telling myself I was going to just do it the next day and then didn't, but I thought I was way further ahead than I was. And then this week's episode came up, and I think it was Thor 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit. And I was like trying to think, I was like, I didn't do Guardians. Did Avengers come before Guardians or after Guardians? Because I was like, I thought I did Age of Ultron, but I know I needed to do Guardians. And I was like, I either have Seth definitely has next week's episode, but I was like, we either have the next 2 episodes or only the next one. And I was like, I gotta get on that.
it's getting warm in here. I think the air's off.
Dr. Stone ended with an interesting
Premise.
thing.
So now you're totally fine with how he...
No, I mean, as usual, like, I wish we had followed Suika for a little while.
Yeah. I think there could have been really cool stuff. Especially, like, watching her grow, I think, would be a really fun thing to do.
And I get why he didn't, especially, like, it's a Shonen Jump, and, you know, Shonen Jump's work is, it's not just the fact that they're similar. They work a certain way. You can't take too big of a risk.
I think Dr. Stone could.
I think you could, but I think it's also, like, it's still a risk to just be like, I'm going to try something crazy, and then have everybody turn on it.
And then, boom, you're done.
And it's a little safer to just be like, I'll test the waters with this, and, like, just do it a little bit and then chicken out. But it does end with, like, a nothing big, but something where I was like, that's kind of like a interesting thing. I don't really care for what it means
In the long run, but...
Yeah, it's like a weird thing where it's like, I don't really care about what it means for, like, the world, and I care more of, like, what it just means for, like, character motivations.
Oh, okay.
Because it's also something that, like, in a different circumstance, I would, the broad strokes of it are something that I would hate in a different circumstance. Where it's just like, okay, nothing matters now. Although I thought it was leading to something more interesting.
It's not bad.
place?
Nah, man. I'm here to stay. But no, I want to finish this up so I can go.
I hope I actually have today.
I think you will.
What's up, Ash? It's got a real Dragon Ball Z vibe.
I know, I was noticing that too. That's all those chapters I've read. I learned I don't know what to do with backgrounds, so I just like Jeff Darrow the crap out of them. I'm like, if I just draw a bunch of things, if I just like draw a bunch of lines, some of them have to be right.
See, that's what I did with the background for that Ultraman thing. Was I just like kind of gave up. It was just like, if I just like block out some buildings and then I just like take a different color and draw some windows, then I'm done. Bada bing, bada boom.
But this is working for me.
Oh yeah, is it doing it for you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a sex pervert for this stuff. I'm a sex pervert for these good drawings.
Wrong, actually. What?
All right, I think that's where I'm leaving it.
Beautiful.
I'll take it.
It's a masterpiece.
All right, and with that said, I'm going to turn off the mic so that we can figure out what we're watching next week. So thanks for joining me. If you liked it, tell a friend. If you did not like it, lie to a friend. Check out the links in the description below. That's all our social media and all that stuff. Man, you got a big 2 hours and 15-minute drawing today. But I drew it. I sketched it. You took me on a wild tangent with Doctor Strange. Inked it, colored it, figured things out. This was a good one. But yeah, check out the links in the description below. Interact with those. Like, smash bell, subscribe, all that stuff. Any little bit of support is super cool to see. Plus, it'll let you know when we're going live next, which should be tomorrow night with Colin and Arkham Horror, the card game. And like I mentioned earlier, no games this Wednesday, but I'll probably stream regardless. Might do Paperback Adventures, might do Slay the Spire, might do Monster Hunter. Who knows? So stay tuned for that. New Watchers of Earth 199,999. What's up next?
Next week's episode is The Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier. So tune in for that. And drawings on Sunday. So thanks for watching. And have a good rest of your day. And I will catch you next time. Have a good one. Bye.